Hello everyone and welcome to episode 84 of the Mind and Muse Crafts podcast. As usual, I am your host Caroline and I thank you for joining me today. Welcome back. This is episode 84, which I think is the 12th episode of this year. So I'm glad to be able to do this. I'm a little bit past the mark. I usually like to upload on the 15th. So that means that I try and film on the 14th. But yesterday was a Sunday and I've been doing sort of a countdown of the time that I have left here. But so my son wanted to go out to have dinner and have a ride around, I guess to a outside mall that we have, and just go out. So as I was saying, I'm on a countdown because I will be returning to my home in Puerto Rico on this Friday night, so I will be getting in early, very early on Saturday. And if you're new here, well, that's where I usually record from, my home in Puerto Rico, where I live with my husband. But it's been a very different year for me. I have not been working at the university where I normally teach. I have been taking care of my grandson and very thankful because he has been progressing continuously, and he's got his ups and downs, his good days and his bad days. We're still working on him a lot to help him to make the movements that he needs in order to sit, and so I guess that's our next goal. But I am returning home and I'm going to try to get back to my normal life, as I've stated before. And so in the meantime, I have been over here trying to continue with the crafty side of my life. And as such, you have seen less projects, but I've tried to go more in depth into the few projects that I've been working on. I think that has been healthy for us. I think it has been good for the podcast, and we have been able to keep it short and hopefully interesting. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I watch podcasts that are just sort of like the show and tell of a list of projects, it's different. Right? And it's attractive in a different way. Like sometimes that's what you want, but sometimes this other thing is what you want, where you actually wanted to make that top. So maybe you could talk a little bit more about and the good side and the bad side, and what you found easy, what you found more difficult or complicated. So that's what I've been trying to do as of late, because it's more convenient. I couldn't haul all my yarn here. I don't want to buy more yarn, so I'm not taking back more stash. And so I was just working with what I had. So the first project that I want to present to you is the one that I am currently wearing. And you might think, well, that looks a lot like the one that she made the last time. Well, the yarn looks a lot like the one I presented to you the last time. This is the Edgewater Tank. And I remember, if you remember, you saw the last episode, I was sharing with you how I wanted to make a summer tank with the yarn that I had left over from the sort of like mixed media crochet and fabric blouse that I had presented the last time. So I didn't want to take that home with me in the leftover skeins. I wanted it to go in a garment. And I had presented another garment as the choice for that tank top. But as things go when you are starting a new project, I saw this one on Ravelry and I thought, that seems like it's going to be a lot quicker because instead of the one that I showed you was working up and down, this one is just working in, does it work in rounds? It works in rounds. It works in rounds where you reach the end and turn around, so you don't go in like in a spiral, or you don't join to continue in the same direction. You work, join, and turn, and then once you get to the top, well, we work on this very pretty rounded neck here and the straps. So as usual, I will include here a video before I start talking too much about it, and so that you can see actually how it looks on me. Enjoy. So that was the Edgewater top. First of all, why I chose the Edgewater top, well, I already saw, I began to express how I thought it would be a little quicker, and being quick was beginning to be a priority because of the fact that I have less and less time here, but also it was because of the name. It's called the Edgewater top, and this area where I'm staying at here, the area that we live is called the Reserve, or the street is Nature's Way. But I walk, I have said previously, 3 miles each morning or in the afternoon, depending how the day goes, in the area. And as I do so, I move to a neighboring community that is called precisely Edgewater. So you saw the little introduction at the beginning. Because I wanted to connect. This then will always be a great memory of my stay here because of the fact that it has the same name as that community that has a large lake, and that's where I met for the first time a group of geese with their little peeps, their little chicks, and watch them grow over the several times that I came back and forth until now that I've come back and they have moved on. They have moved on from here. So yes, I wanted a connection, and the name was going to forever be my connection with this community where I've spent so many hours and walked repeatedly for so many miles. And it's going to be a good feeling. It is made as the previous one using the lyocell Nuboo yarn from Lion Brand. And so I believe at the end of the episode, the last episode, I said that I had 4 skeins left of 85 grams and 157 yards each, more or less, give or take. And so I made this top, and I still have this left over. It's not a complete skein, but there's a lot here. And so I will be taking this one back, and we'll see what I can work this with. It seems a nice color for skin tone, for amigurumis, and so I will be taking it back with me to see what I can do with this leftover. I wanted to use it all, and as a matter of fact, you can find the Edgewater on, the designer is called Michele Ferguson, and her site, her I believe she also has a website outside of Ravelry, but her Ravelry site is also called Ravelry Shop, Pattern Shop, is called Two Brothers Blankets. And so that's the Edgewater tank top. And it says that you need between 600 and 900 yards of lightweight or worsted number 4 yarn. And the designer uses the Z twist that I'm pretty sure I have talked about it in the past on this podcast. That Z twist is by Lion Brand, and its name is given because of the different way that the yarn is twisted. Instead of forming an S, the fibers form a Z, and it is said that such fiber has a much better stitch definition for us crocheters. So I obviously didn't have that, and I was wanting to use this, so I did use this. But the thing was that I had four 85, I'm going to say 85 grams, more or less 150, between 154 and 157 yards of. So I had left about 616 yards of this. And I still have all of this left over, which isn't the complete skein. So, but there might be 100 yards left here. So we're talking about a little bit over 500 yards that I used. And I didn't do the smallest one. I did the smallest and extra small. I did a small because that was for the 34 bust that I am. And I used a 4.5 millimeter hook because it just felt better. It just felt better with this yarn. And because, let's see if this is true. I think I still had all of my crochet items here. I have since begun to send packages back to my home, and my crochet hooks went with that one, so I wasn't able to make up a new pair of earrings or anything like that. But I used the 4.5, and I thought I had left a hook behind so I could actually try and work this up to a granny square, but I didn't. So I used a little bit over 500 yards. I didn't make it as long as she suggests. I think she suggests that it would reach under lower than the hip, or my torso is shorter. I don't know, but as you saw from the video, it's at a comfortable length. I like how long it is. I don't have a problem with it. I did not add any sleeves, obviously, but I did add edging to the sleeve, which is a suggestion and not, it's not optional. So I added my crab stitch border to the sleeves and to the bottom. Now, I didn't do my crab stitch as normal. This is another one of the things that I learned for this project, was that you can work the crab stitch at the going to the left as we normally crochet instead of going backwards. And so I also have a little video for you here so that you can see how that one is worked up. I found it interesting, not too difficult, and I'll actually do a close-up of the edges so that you can see that it looks very similar to what it would have looked like if I had done it in the reverse single crochet, or the normal crab stitch that we usually use. This one, they also call it the reverse. No, they call it the twisted single crochet. I've seen it called that also. And I didn't do it around the neckline. I only did it around the armholes and the bottom. But I was very happy with finding, I've done crab stitch so many times before in reverse order that I don't find it a difficult movement, but it was very comfortable. Sometimes working the crab stitch can be uncomfortable. I found this very comfortable, and as long as you work loosely, because it involves a twist, as you will see, it's fine. I like it a lot, and I think that's the way that I'm going to be going from now on with my crab stitch. So let me just show it to you for a moment. So we'd like to complete our edging as a crab stitch, but go forward. So it'll look something like this, where we go into the next stitch and pull up a loop, as if you were going to do your normal single crochet, but then we twist our hook all the way around, pick up a loop and pull it through. And that's why sometimes it's also called the twisted single crochet, because again, we go into our next stitch, pull up a loop, and turn our hook, twisting the two loops together and then pulling through. And that basically will create what normally looks like the reverse single crochet or the crab stitch. I will also include the link in the description box below in case you want to check out the video that I used to guide myself into making initially this twisted single crochet or crab stitch to the left, or I don't know how else. It's described in several different ways. You can find different videos over the internet. But anyway, I'm very happy with it. I'm very glad that I learned it. And I am extremely happy with the tank top. For its name, it only has two joining parts here at the top strap. And at the end, after I was finished, I thought I could have made the back strap a bit longer so that the join would have been more towards the middle. But I'm thinking that's okay. It's not causing me a problem right now. It is quite hot out today, and I am not uncomfortable. So the lyocell apparently is not the worst thing you could use for the summer. And so all in all, I am happy with that top. I'm glad I made it, and I think I will get use out of it because I'm not wearing anything under this one. I don't have any type of top under it, well, you know, except my normal brassiere, but I do not have any undergarment additional to the weight of the lyocell. So yes, I'm thinking that was a nice make, and I'm very glad that I decided to make this one. Probably the other one would have come out equally attractive, but I'm satisfied with the choice I made and with the way this has been worked up. So as you remember, with this one I made 3 garments in the summer, the 2 months that I spent in between Florida and Alabama with my son. So I think I did pretty good there. And I used all of them. I was able to use them all. And my grandson, I've said before, likes them a lot because he's always cuddling up to them when I wear them. And so I think he feels that there might be a blanket or something like that. But he really likes to cuddle them a lot and even suck on them for, I don't know. But he likes to do that with his blankets too. So maybe that's it. So this is another finished garment. I think in all, if I count the little adjustment that I made to that linen tank top that I bought, and I count the cardigan that I also made at my daughter's house, I think that's a total of 5 garments that I worked on over the summer and was able to complete. And I'm very satisfied with that. very satisfied with that. And if you look at the projects for this top on Ravelry, some of the projects to me seem to be very wide at the back, wider than they needed to be, but I'm not seeing that for this one, so I'm very happy with it. But I'd keep an eye on that if you wanted to make that one. I'm not going to go a lot into detail about how it's constructed because it is a paid-for pattern, so I'll keep it to only what the information that she gives on her Ravelry page. At least I hope I've kept it to that. It's worked bottom up, and it says that on the pattern also. And the straps are wide enough to cover up your bra straps, so it's really comfortable. It is really comfortable. It still has a lot of stretch in it, so I'm sure somebody bigger than I could also use the same size. So happy with that. And I'm also happy to share with you my next project. Before that, let me just mention the earrings that I'm wearing. Once again, these earrings are purchased. They are handmade, but they're purchased from Catharsis Crochet that I mentioned on the last episode. I purchased several earrings from her, and I really like this one because I believe it's meant to be like a sun. And you know that where I come from, there's a lot of that, but it also looks to me a little bit like the wind icon that they sometimes present on comic strips and things like that. So yeah, I kind of liked it doubly because of that. And that would complete my outfit for today. So going on with the next project, it's one that I didn't look up to see when was the first time I presented it on this podcast, but I'm very sure it was around November of last year. Why? Because I think this project was meant to be a birthday gift for my son, either a birthday gift or a Christmas gift for my son. So in around November or December, I started this make. And come January, I had finished one, and I had finished half, let's say half of the project, and then when I came down here and I tried it on my son, didn't fit. So if you remember, it was this sock, and I myself will have to go back to the episode where I presented it for the first time so I can get you the name of the yarn. It is a Stylecraft yarn, one of their Stylecraft socks, and they are self-patterning yarns, and I do like this a lot. But I had worked this up 64 stitches in the round, and I always use 64 stitches in the round, let's say a wedge toe, and I do a German short row heel as I was taught by Sockmatician. And when I got to the cuff and finished it, tried it on with my son, and it didn't fit. It didn't fit. So I had to buy a larger needle. This is a 2.5 instead of a 2.25. And my idea was to work finish up the second sock with the 2.5 and then go back and redo the cuff on this one, because that's what was where he was having difficulties. It fit okay on the foot, but couldn't get it around the heel because the cuff was too tight. So I had already begun to work on the second sock, and I had the second sock done probably up the whole foot. Actually, when I picked it up, it even had part of the gusset done. So I picked it up, I changed my needles to the 2.5, worked the gusset, worked the heel, worked the leg, and redid the cuff well, didn't redo it. I did the cuff on this one because this one was only halfway done. And this sock fits my son perfectly. It was a perfect fit yesterday when I tried it on for him. So, as a matter of fact, I would have said it was a little baggy on the cuff. It was a little looser on the cuff than I like my cuffs. I'm pretty sure that I did not have to do the extra loosey, stretchy cuff bind off that I did for this sock. I followed, I think her name is Shauna Crochet on YouTube. Let me just look that up for you. Sheena's. It's called Sheena's Stretchy Sock Bind Off Without Flare. Sheena's Stretchy Sock Bind Off Without Flare on YouTube. And so basically you are binding off in pattern. My cuff is always 2x2, so it's 2 knit stitches and 2 purl stitches. That's the one that I like the best. But then when I got to the bind off, we were binding off in pattern, but every other stitch was getting an extra yarn over. And I've talked about adding yarn overs to your bind off before, but I followed a different video than the one I found for this one, because I had used yarn overs on the first cuff that I made, but it wasn't stretchy enough. So this one is really stretchy. This one really does the job. And so I hope that this one that I'm working on now, which was actually the first sock that I finished, so everything is in 2.25 except for the cuff, which is in 2.5. But this one, I'm hoping the cuff will be stretchy enough so it can get over his heel. We'll see. I kind of had hoped to have it done by now and have been able to try it on, but I wasn't able to finish it yesterday as it was my last Sunday. Well, my son wanted to go out. But they are not identical socks. Notice I did not take the care. Actually, I thought that I had taken the care, but you'll see that this pattern has a small section of blue and then a shorter section of blue over here and a real long section of blue over here. Well, I thought the section that I was at was this one, but it wasn't. It wasn't that one. I was pretty up. I was around here when I started it, but that's okay. I don't think my son is going to complain. Notice that the pattern, the first pattern that you get here is different from this pattern here. So on and so forth, but it'll be okay. I'm kind of sure that my son is going to like it. He might not notice it. His wife might notice, but that's okay. So I'm very happy with that. I'm pretty sure that I'll be finishing the cuff tonight or later on in the afternoon if I have time. I'll try it on when he gets home from work, and hopefully I'll be able to weave in the ends and call it a day for these socks. If you've been around for a while, you know that I am not a knitter. I'm not an avid knitter. I only pick up knitting when I want to make socks. Sometimes. A lot of times I make crochet socks. But every once in a while for some reason I'll want to knit up a pair of socks. I do love the thin fabric of the knit socks. But that is an unfortunate thing when you actually go to wear them in your winter boots, because crochet socks are thicker. So, yeah. But he's going to wear these to work, hopefully. And wearing them to work, they needed to be thin. And so I'm really happy with that. I'm really happy that I got that out of the way. I braved it. This cuff, I did need to cut off because I was hoping to rip it back and be able to use the same yarn to make the cuff, but I wasn't able to because it was, first of all, I had woven in the end. It was difficult to find where that was woven in. And then when I did find it and I started pulling back the yarn, it just kept getting stuck all the time. There's a bit of a halo, I don't know if you can see it there, to this yarn. So all those little hairs kind of, it got stuck, and I was just, no, not going to do it. I tried to pick up my stitches with my needles way down here. My cuff was up at the top, and then I cut off the cuff a little bit above the needle, and then just fragged it back. And yeah, it was a bit of a waste of yarn, but it was better to waste the yarn than my patience. If it got too difficult for me, I know that I was going to give up. So I'm glad that it didn't get that difficult. So live and learn, guys. Live and learn. There is always something new to learn. And I try and pick my projects in that sense, and I'm continuously learning with them. It doesn't necessarily become a part of your usable knowledge, because of the fact that if you just do it once and then move on to something else, that is not necessarily learning. We all know that learning requires a lot of practice, but it is something that I would like to be able to do again. I have less fear, for example, of making a mistake on a sock and having to fix it, because I had learned a while back on another sock this method of picking up your stitches, going through one leg of each V carefully. It was difficult with this one because the yarn was really dark. It was like this dark blue, and so I skipped a couple of stitches and had to fix that along the way, but I was able to do it. That's the important thing. I was able to do it, and this is going to be a completed project before I leave, and I can just leave them here with my son. And I'll be able to take back the diagram of his foot and a diagram of my daughter-in-law's foot, because that way I'll be able to make more socks in the future. And so that was it. I've got a lot of yarn left over. And as happens with knitting, that happens a lot, I could probably make definitely think that I could make some shorties. So I have to take that back with me too, but most of the bulk I have sent back I like to send back boxes in the mail. I think it's cheaper than paying for luggage. But I've only sent one with all the extra clothes that I had brought down, and the crochet garments that I had brought, the crochet garments that I had made here. And so they're all sent back. As a matter of fact, they arrived today, so they're all secure over there. As usual, I am traveling back with a backpack, so it's not going to be heavy, and I wanted to have as little as possible, which is why I couldn't crochet the granny square up, because I sent all of my crochet hooks back. I thought I had stayed with the 4mm, but I didn't, so I'll have to leave that for when I get back. So before I forget, happy Granny Square Day to all of you, and if there are any of you that actually like to make a memory for this day in some form, well, I hope all of your Granny Squares come out lovely. If I had been at home, I definitely would have made something, but since I am not, I mean, a Granny Square goes a long way. A lot of people believe that they are old fashions, and just as their name says, maybe it's because they should have found a different name for it, Granny Square. Well, some people find that it looks, old fashioned. But if you travel through Ravelry, travel through Instagram or things like that, you will know that the Granny Square goes a long way, and there are a lot of people that enjoy obviously their blankets, but also garments have been coming into the scene as of late, and garments with shaping. So using granny squares and half granny squares and combining it with all the other types of stitches. So have a happy celebration if that's what you like. And I'm going to leave it at that. Basically, I'm going to leave it at that because I've got my grandson to take care of, and it's already past the lunch hour for my daughter-in-law, so I'm going to go pick him up because I can hear him crying in the background. And so best wishes to all of you for your Granny Square Day celebrations. Best wishes to all of you for your end of the summer celebrations. I know a lot of the kids here have gone back to school. I don't know when they go back to school where you live, but we are moving into fall. Definitely you can see here the fall because the mornings are getting darker. Now I get up at 5:30 for my walk, and it is actually still dark outside, and a lot cooler than it had been in previous days. So I think the autumn is going to actually come here quickly. So let me try and think if there's anything else that I wanted to mention to you. I think not, but we can always keep in touch if you would like to over Instagram. You can write to me on Ravelry. You can write to me on my mindandmusecrafts.com, and where you can leave me a message because that's my blog. But mindandmuse@gmail.com is my email for this podcast. So take care of yourselves until we meet up again. Keep yourself safe, keep yourself happy, and keep crafting. Goodbye for now.
Let's see, the goat licks his feet over here.
I was trying to get him talking to the goats.